Hey everybody, Tyler Cruz here, also known as Always Dizzy. I am back with my final round recap report from the 2025 BC versus Washington match. As a recap, I won my previous round in round 4. So my score going into round 5 was 3 out of 4. I was tied for first place on the BC team. Again, this is a team event, and there were separate prizes for each team. Going into this final round, I forget what the exact scores were, but it wasn't looking good for Team BC against Team Washington. I think they told us that we had to get all wins and we were allowed one draw. That's what we needed to win. So I think we needed 6 wins and 1 draw. So it wasn't looking good. And spoiler alert, we did lose the team event. So Washington won. Congratulations to Washington. But, and this may not sound great, but my main concern was for me. I wanted to do well for my individual score and try to improve my rating. So in the 5th round, I was paired up against National Master Vignesh Anand. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, because I know that like for Vishy Anand, I think most people say Anand, right? But some people say Anand. Anyways, I hope it's okay. Just a reminder, in round 2, I played the other national master on the team. So the team had 2 national masters, and they were racking up all the points for the team. In fact, going into the 5th round, they were each undefeated. So they had 8 points between both of them. So kind of a tough pairing for me. I was, I played both national masters, but it's not surprising since I was tied for first place on the team. Just reading my notes here. So I was actually hoping to be paired up against somebody else on their team. I wasn't so thrilled to get this pairing because I was hoping that I would be paired up against, a lower rated player so that I could hopefully win and then be guaranteed to increase my rating if I won the game. On the other hand, if I was paired up against somebody lower and I drew or lost, that would really hurt my rating quite a bit. The other thing that annoyed me, though, was I was black again. And too often, it seems that I get 3 blacks in 5-round events. It just seems like I always get 3 blacks. And this was my 2nd time playing black against a national master in this tournament. And I remember I played a CM in another tournament and I was black too. It seems like I rarely get white against titled players, which is frustrating because it'd be nice to play a sharper game against a titled player. And most titled players play D4 against lower rated players, I've noticed. And one more thing that annoyed me, so I can keep going on my old man rants here, is, do you remember, if you watched the previous videos, on board 1, on the black side specifically, the table was kind of broken, so you couldn't support yourself. You couldn't put your arms on the table or it would rock. And so I was black again on board 1. And so again, I had to for the full game, I couldn't put my hands on the table. Again, it sounds like a stupid little detail, but it's uncomfortable to do that. Imagine sitting for 3 or 4 hours and you just have to like, it's like sitting almost like on a bar stool. Like you have no back. I mean, I could lean back. There was that, so it wasn't that bad, but I don't know. It was frustrating. And I told I told two different people, like the organizer and tournament director, about it, but they just kind of like, shrugged their shoulders. I don't know. They should have at least changed the table to give it to a lower board or something. I don't know why board one can't put your, okay, sorry. Okay, so let's get on with the game. So Vignesh, and again, I apologize if I am saying that incorrectly. He opened with D4. Let me just turn something off here. Okay, so he played D4. And I was not thrilled to see this. My game against National Master Josh Sininen, another name I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly, went terribly, if you remember. That was round 2. And he also played D4 against me. And I was a little bit paranoid, as I tend to be, that they might have compared notes after that game or even prepared against me. Because after all, this was a team event. And even though there was, at least on the Team BC side, there was no corroboration. Wait, is it collaboration? Collaboration. Yeah, collaboration, right? Between players, like nobody prepared against anybody or worked together or did anything like that, which is too bad. But I didn't know, like maybe they did that on the Washington side. And even without that, I didn't want to allow another Hopton attack just because it went so poorly before. And I didn't really have time to study the opening from round 2. So I decided to play my old line, which I haven't played in like a couple years, which is not the Dutch, and it was knight f6, so the Nimzo. My opponent played c4. I played e6. It's so weird though. Like I played the Nimzo for years, for years, maybe 5 years, and then I switched to the Dutch, and I've been playing the Dutch for maybe 2 years, and it's like I've forgotten everything about the Nimzo. I just forgot everything already. I don't know if that's my age or what. Anyways, then I was hoping he was not going to play like the kind of the closed or the Catalan system of like g3, knight f3. So of course he plays knight f3. So everything was going wrong for me. I'm paired up against a national master. I'm on the bad board. I'm black, and we're playing d4, and I don't even get a Nimzo. I get the Catalan. So, I mean, is this technically the Catalan or the g3 the Catalan? I think this is more of just like a closed, like a knight f3 system. But so one of the reasons I quit the Nimzo Indian, or at least switched to the Dutch, was I wasn't getting great results against the Catalan structures with my Queen's Indian. That's what I used to play against it. I used to play Bishop a6, Queen's Indian. And so I wanted something sharper and just more fun and interesting to play. So I switched to the Dutch. And so I didn't want to go down those waters here. I didn't want to play Bishop a6, Queen's Indian. And I haven't played it for so long. So what's pretty bizarre is I decided to play something that I've never played before. I think I maybe played it once online, but I've never studied this. I have no idea what the plans are. I've certainly never played it in a tournament. And again, I played it maybe once online, never studied it, never watched a video on it. I know nothing about this, but so it's kind of funny that the first time I decided to play it is against a national master in a FIDE rated serious classical over the board tournament game. And so I played Bishop b4. I played the BOGO Indian. for the first time. Had no idea what I was doing. All I kind of knew about it was that it's not supposed to be super sharp or theoretical. And so I thought that might make sense here. Like I just trade and get into a reasonable, not overly complicated middle game. And even if I'm a bit worse in the end game, I can't hate that too much against the national master, right? So yeah, I played the Bogo Indian. And I've been thinking about maybe studying this, like, because I just haven't been doing so well with the Dutch lately. So anyways, he played Bishop D2. I had no idea what I was doing here. Here I briefly considered moves like A5, C5, and even Bishop E7. But I decided to keep things as simple as possible. So I just traded here. He took with the queen, and I castled. Played knight C3, and I played D5, just stopping E4, because I don't think I could allow E4. So D5 seemed mandatory. At this point, Vignesh had gained 2 minutes on the clock already. I mean, we're only move 6, but I had no idea what I was doing. Well, I had spent 5 minutes. He was probably wondering why I was playing so slowly in an opening that he's probably played a billion times. Because imagine if this is like the Roy Lopez or something, and you're white or black, and it's like move 5, and you're playing as slowly as I am. He's probably wondering. But it's because I had no idea what I was doing. So I had to learn on the spot, you know. He played E3 here. And then I played a move that's not in my filtered database of FIDE-rated tournament games of 2400 and higher in classical time format. But the engine actually says the move I played was playable. And I figured it might not be so common, but I didn't see the downside to it. So I decided to play it. I also thought it would be useful to try to get out of book as soon as possible, since it would only be fair for my opponent to be unfamiliar with the position since I was unfamiliar. And yeah, I think when we talked after the game, my opponent, I think Vignesh said he hadn't seen that before, or he wasn't sure if it was like, he wasn't, it was kind of unusual, but at the same time, he also thought like, why? Like, he also thought it was playable. And so that move was 94. Kind of Dutch-esque. He played Queen C2, and I played F5. So we kind of transposed into it's a stonewall setup nearly. I don't know if C6 has to be there for it to be an actual stonewall officially, maybe. But yeah, now it's kind of like a Dutch stonewall, which I actually don't know how to play either. But at least it's different enough for me to make this interesting. Stockfish 17.1 actually prefers Queen E7 instead, or Knight takes C3. But again, I wanted to kind of mix things up a little bit. So F5. And then he took on D5. And I took with the knight. Oh, sorry, I traded knights here. Note that I can't take back because then there's knight takes D5, and I can't recapture the knight because of bishop C4, right? Skewering my queen to the king. So I took the knight first, and he went queen takes C3. So here I was actually expecting B takes C3, and then I was going to go E takes D5, C4, and then bishop E6. But the engine says that queen takes C3 was equally good. Here I recaptured on D5, Again, not with the queen because of bishop c4. He played bishop d3, knight d7, and queen c2. I played g6 because, yeah, how else am I defending that pawn? I guess I could have played knight b6. I don't remember considering knight b6, so. Oh yeah. No, I didn't want knight b6 because of knight e5. And then I'm not kicking that knight out. How am I ever kicking that knight out? I can only ever kick it out by challenging it with my knight. And the knight isn't like immediately causing me any harm, but it just didn't make sense for me because I can't let him have a knight on e5 for the rest of the game. So I played g6 so that I keep an eye on e5. And he castled kingside, played knight f6. So I just said that, and then I guess I let him anyways. I think if he had gone 95, I would just go back and no, never mind. I did have a plan for this. Yeah, I have it in my notes even. So I had accounted for all this. So here he played b4, and I knew this was coming. A minority attack, right? These two pawns against my 3 to try to create a weakness or an isolated pawn. The thing is, I don't know d4, d5 openings, so I rarely come across minority attacks. I know the general idea about a minority attack. I've studied it before, but I don't face them enough to really fully understand them inside and out. And so I didn't really know what I was supposed to do. Like, what are you supposed to do against a minority attack? As far as I know, and please let me know in the comments, there's not really anything you can do about it. Like, if like a minority attack is inevitable, if you give them enough time, like you can't do anything about it. So I just kind of had to accept it. And just like play elsewhere on the board essentially. But yeah, let me know if there are key things you should be doing against it. But first, I did want to stop the advance of the b pawn, so I played c6. He played a4, and then I played bishop d7 here. So I told my opponent, I told Vignesh after the game that I had no idea what I was supposed to do against a minority attack, and he said that he thought I played it fine, more or less. So yeah, here Vignesh played knight e5. And I hated my position, just like in round 2 when I played against the other national master. I have a bad bishop. White has a good bishop. My opponent has a very, very strong knight, and he's got a semi-open c file. I had to get something going here. I'm just decaying. My position is just decaying. Again, my bishop is just trash. He's got this minority attack brewing. He's got a good bishop. My king's a little airy too. I have nothing going for me here. It was just like round 2 again, just getting steamrolled. And it's like, I don't even know what I did wrong. That's what it feels like when you play a titled player. So because of that, I had to get something going here. So I played knight g4. And yeah, Vignesh told me after the game that he wasn't expecting knight g4, but again, he did. Yeah, he. It's like the other move. He didn't see anything wrong with it. He didn't see why I couldn't play it. And he did trade on g4. The computer says this is inaccurate. Instead, it wants white to continue on with a minority attack with moves like knight f3 and then continuing with his, avoiding the trade and then continuing with his attack. or I think a5 was another move it suggested. But what black played, it allowed me to get an initiative going on the king side here. So yes, he traded, I recaptured. And then he played queen b3. I think just to open up the c file for the rooks. And I played king g7. Preparing, here I was preparing h5 or possibly rook h8, right? Because I can't play h5 here because he would just take on g6. It also didn't hurt to get off this diagonal with his queen. He played b5, continuing with his attack. And I played h5. Because again, I had to get something going here. And finally, it was my turn to do something on the board, right? So finally, move 19. Finally, I have something. At least I'm doing something. I'm not reacting. I'm actually doing something on the board. So here, I was feeling a lot better. I mean, I'm playing a titled player in a classical time control. Did I mention that? I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm playing a titled player here. It's move 19, and I'm holding. We have something to live for now. A few moves ago, we didn't. He played e4. I took, and he took back, obviously, and then I played bishop f5. He took, and then, yeah, I did think here. I ended up taking with the pawn, g takes f5, but this was inaccurate. I think it was a difference of +1. So with both rook takes f5 and g takes f5, the position ends up being very similar. There's the same tactic of takes, queen b7, check, and then taking back on c6. You can't stop that either way. The difference, though, is that the move I played, it leaves me with no shelter for my king after these series. Whereas if I had taken with the rook, my pawn would be on g6, so my king can hide on h6. It also opens up the f file, which gives black a little bit of more options, which you'll actually see. But yeah, I took with the pawn, and he took on c6. I recaptured, and then queen b7 check. And then here I thought for a whopping 10 minutes. I said, 10 minutes is a long time. And after I played my move, I was down to 39 minutes here. Again, the time control was 90 plus 30. I found no way to save the pawn. And so I played what I felt gave me the best continuation, which was correct at least, which was rook f7. So just to show you, like if I had played king g8, queen takes c6, and I took on d4, this allows rook a d1. And then white's just getting too much play here. White's better. The rooks are going to like get active, and yeah, just too much play. So that's why I played rook f7. He took the pawn, played rook c8. He played queen e6. I was also expecting possibly queen a6. And then here I played queen e8. So I offered this queen trade because with the queens off, I'm down a pawn here, but I stood decent drawing chances here, especially because my king is much better placed. My king is much better placed than white's. It's much more centralized. So I'm a pawn down, but my rooks are also more active as well. That's the other thing. My rooks are much better than his rooks. So I would have been, yeah, so that's why I offered a queen trade. I think my endings are pretty decent. So yeah, it didn't take too much convincing to myself to offer the queen trade. He avoided the queen trade. He played queen b3. I played rook b8, chasing the queen. Had I played rook d8, this was actually better, I believe. this is what's computer suggested. It's kind of weird though, going in front of the pawn. Rook a d1, rook fd7. Again, this is just what the computer recommended. Rook d2, rook d5, rook fd1, queen f4. This is, so blockading the pawn. Yeah, this was the better way to play, but that's not what I played. Yeah, so I played rook b8. He played queen d3. And I played queen e4. Again, offering a queen trade. But in this position, it's even better than before because the f2, if he takes, the f2 pawn becomes exposed. And yeah. And so here, Vignesh made a blunder. He made a critical blunder. And he did take the queen. I asked him about this after the game, and he didn't see the move, which I'll show you. And he was lamenting about that, but the truth is, black is actually equal here no matter what, as soon as white trades queens. So objectively equal, according to the engine. Because with the queens off, yes, again, white's up a pawn, but my rooks are active, my king is good, and rook and pawn ending regardless is so drosh, right? So yeah, I took the queen, obviously, and he played rook fe1, but this allows rook b2, which is what I played. So here I was celebrating. Internally, I was celebrating, like, wow, am I just about to draw a national master? This was, I just couldn't stop thinking about, like, this is a serious game. This is a legitimate FIDE rated tournament, classical time control. I'm playing a national master from the US. I'm black, and it looks like I'm about to draw here. So I was trying to, I'm like, don't celebrate, but I can't help it, you know? And on top of that, I knew that if I did draw, I would finish in clear first place on Team BC because I forget it. Was I tied with the other guy? No, yeah, because I was already in first place on Team BC at this point. So, although, hang on, if my opponent, because the other guy had lost, so I would just need a draw to get first place, and that was a bonus. And if I had won, I would have won. Sorry, if I finished first place, I would also win some good prize money, which so I'm just trying to explain what was going on right now in my head. I wasn't even thinking so much about the board. I was just thinking, like, wow, what's going on here? Like, I'm playing a national master, and my drawing chances are looking very good right now. And I try to ignore that, but it's so hard not to. Here, he played rook a b1. The thing is, though, my opponent, Vignesh Anand, he's a national master, and title players don't roll over easily. And they are tricky, and they're going to fight tooth and nail. And this was annoying. This annoyed me. I was annoyed. Just, offer me a draw, man. Offer me a draw so I don't have to work, or so I don't screw up and lose. Here, note that if I take on f2 right now, he can trade rooks and then take on e4. This is actually equal, but this starts to look a little bit scary now. Now I'm a little bit scared. I am down a pawn after all. And, well, this ain't so simple at all, right? So I didn't go for that. Instead, I played rook d2. I guess this would have actually been similar now that I think about it, though. If he had taken, this would have been similar to what I just showed. No. It's different. It's way different. Never mind. Because then I forced the draw because then he can't stop it. Yeah. So I played rook d2. He played rook bd1. I played rook a2. So it's up, I'm just repeating here. It's up to white to do something to make something happen. Otherwise, like, I'm happy to repeat. I'm happy to get a draw here. I'm not trying for a win, obviously. I'm just trying for a draw. And he played f3. Again, he had to go for something. And I had to be really careful here because it's very easy to go wrong. There was so much on the line. I was fighting for clear first place. I was fighting to get a draw against a national master. I was fighting for everything. Prize money. This was, yeah. I've only been in this situation once or twice, like one or two other times, I think, where I was kind of fighting for so much in the final round. One of them was the BC Open. Had I won that game, I would have won clear first. Sorry, not the BC Open, the Grand Pacific Open. I think that was the under 1700 section. This was 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Okay. Anyways, I took on f3. He recaptured, and I think you can take with the pawn too, but I took with the rook. And then here I offered a draw. Now I know that like perfect etiquette is in such a thing is you kind of like the higher rated opponent should offer the draw. But here I offered a draw because so my opponent had an hour and 9 minutes. I only had 21 minutes, and I just didn't want to screw around. There's been a lot of cases, a lot of times I've played games where I wanted a draw, but I didn't offer one because I didn't want to look weak or I didn't want to be rude, but I also didn't want to lose the game. So I offered a draw here. I mean, to be fair, I did feel this should be a pretty elementary draw, but again, I didn't want to leave it up to fate. I didn't want to screw up. I've blundered games by touching the wrong piece or turning off my brain. But he played rook e5. He did not accept my draw offer. Why would he? I played king g6, defending my h pawn, and he played rook c1. Annoying. I was actually getting pretty nervous here. I was starting to get fairly nervous because he's not rolling over and dying, or well, not dying, but acquiescing to a draw. And I have to be really careful. I could even get checkmated here, right? It's almost as rollover mate. Or he could prepare a perpetual, or trade off rooks and then push the d pawn. Like, this is looking actually a little scary. I did calculate that I could take this pawn though. First of all, I think I can always just go rook f6 if he gives me a check here. But I still had to be careful because, again, there's stuff like d5 after. Yeah, so here he played rook d1. I played rook a2. Just threatening this again, which doesn't guarantee a perpet. But if he goes here, then I should have something, right? So he went rook c1. I played rook ff2, rook c6 check, and then I have rook f6. Simplest way. I think you can also move the king technically, but that's too scary. So I just went rook f6. I took rook takes h5, and then here I went rook d2. I wasn't quite sure why my opponent declined my draw offer though, and then was still playing on here. But maybe this is just something that titled players do. They play until it's really minimalistic. It's kind of like, what do you call that? Like in math with fractions, when you just simplifying down. I don't know what you call it, but I wonder if they just kind of do that until the position has really fully resolved itself for the most part. Maybe he would just kept playing, hoping that I would blunder. Rook h6 check. Played king f5. Rook a6. I took on d4. He took on a7. And then here, I liked my move. Simple little move, but I liked it. Rook d2. Forever keeping his king on the back rank. By doing that, he's never going to have anything here. I never have to worry about anything. Even if I blunder this pawn, then I have the Philidor, right? So this just kind of sent a message. He played rook a5 check. I played king f4, rook a4 check, king f5, rook a5 check. And then finally, so king f4, rook a4 check, king f5, rook a5 check, threefold. And it was a draw. And I cannot tell you how elated I was. I just drew a national master. Okay, I've said this. Okay, I know I mentioned this a lot, but this really means a lot to me. I mean, I'm old. I've been struggling so long to try to improve. And I've also, on top of that, I've had a lot of really bad tournament performances. I don't perform very well in tournaments generally. And so I drew a national master over the board in a serious tournament, and I ended up finishing clear first for Team BC. I finished clear first, and I won. I'll tell you how much I won after. So it was a Cinderella story for me. I don't know if Cinderella story is the right analogy, because it wasn't a bad start, really. So both, and actually what's interesting is on board number 2, the other member of my team, he actually drew the other national masters. So we really hurt them, because Nigel, who was next to me, he's rated like 1575, and he drew the other national master. It kind of shows how there is a little bit of a rating difference and between Canada and the US and BC, especially. Like BC is pretty underrated. The juniors here just drag everybody down. So it's kind of astonishing that a 1500 and a 1700 drew 2 national masters. But the 2 masters ended up finishing undefeated with a score of 4.5 out of 5 each. So they racked up a lot of points for their team. And I'm going to make a separate video that tells you what my new ratings are for CFC and FIDE, because this was both CFC and FIDE rated. I'm going to do a separate video for that. So that'll be the next video. But this was one of the best tournament performances of my life to date. And again, improving at my age really is very meaningful to me. I know I'm not going to become a title player or anywhere close to that. I'll probably never be 2000, but to be able to improve at my age just means a lot. So I'm just going to finish with a couple things here. Oh, I was supposed to do this earlier on. I forgot. So this is Vignesh Anand here. This is just from some interview on chess.com. And I wanted to show, so this is the results from the tournament. Sorry, wrong tournament. This is it here, BC versus Washington match. You might have to zoom in on your screen. So I finished first on Team BC, but this is a combination of both Team BC and Team Washington. So here I am third overall if you include all the players. So right below the 2 national masters. I forgot to mention too earlier that my opponent was rated 2024 CFC because I think he might be provisional CFC. I'm not sure. He might not be. But his UFCF was whatever I showed on the screen. Where was it? I think it was 2159. Yeah, over the board USCF rating. Okay, so going back here. Yeah, so I finished 3.5 out of 5. I lost to the national master, and then I won my other 3 games and then drew the other national master. So that's the final cross tables there. And so I ended up winning $450, which is definitely the most I ever won at a tournament. I've almost never won money. And that, unfortunately, doesn't really go anywhere. It goes to my bills. Basically I break even more or less because of the Airbnb. So between the entry fee, the Airbnb, and buying a little bit of food, I basically break even. But you know what? That's better than being out $450 to travel to the tournament. So very happy that worked out where I broke even. That's about as good as you can do in chess tournaments these days. Yeah. So again, just what can I say? That was just absolutely fantastic. Just felt, I mean, I was elated. I was over the moon. Yeah, I didn't win. Like I didn't beat a national master, but I drew one, and that still feels great. So yeah, stay tuned for my next video, which will tell you what my new ratings are. Thanks for watching. Thanks. See you next time.